Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Ghost Experiences. Today, I have my husband with me, which is Daniel.
Hi.
So, I'm going to be telling Daniel the history of my grandparents' house. Now, to paint a lovely picture for you all out there, cue the haunted cut of film edit. My grandparents' house lives basically out in the middle of the woods. It's the boonies, okay? And at nighttime,
It is.
at nighttime, you can literally hear a tree break in the far distance of the woods. You can hear coyotes, you can hear, possums, raccoons, you name it. It is the countryside of Oklahoma.
I mean, there was the one time, my dog found, the little baby possum.
Yeah. And we had to, wrangle your dog away from the baby possum. But anyways, so now, mind you, my grandparents, so they've been there for a very, very long time. And I would say probably early 80s, middle 80s, right? 1980s, not like the 1800s. So needless to say, when my grandparents bought that house, I did not realize this until years and years and years later. And this was kind of like my second introduction other than my experience that happened in Colorado. And you guys can find that video up in the corner. I will pin it up there for you guys to hear it, because that is my demonic experience that happened in Colorado with my family that lives up there. And this experience is surprisingly, it's not demonic, but it's also not pleasant either, because what we were dealing with was more of a malevolent, very, very pissed off, spirits, essentially. And so, shush. So we're not going to talk about my grandpa. Anyways, my grandpa has dementia and Alzheimer's, everybody. So he's, love him, but he's fading away. Anyways, so essentially, to sums it all up, my grandparents, they have 3 children. They have Dwayne, my mother, which is Andrea, Angela, which is my aunt, which is my mom and Dwayne's sister. And, they move in to this house. Now, keep this in mind. This information was fully disclosed to my grandparents, okay? They just chose not to say anything to the kids because they knew that it would scare the crap out of the kids. So, fast forward a little bit to Angie, where she's having these experiences where, keep in mind, in the room that was my room growing up, there's a room built on to that side of the house where
I've seen it.
Yeah. And I have the windows right there in my room. And needless to say, Angie would have absolute night terrors. Okay. She would say that people were standing in the window, that somebody was in the room. She would have these experiences, and grandma would take note of all this. Mom would, she would take note of this as well. And she had her own experiences even before and after Dwayne passed away, back in, that was 96. And so essentially, fast forward to me and growing up in this room. And I remember my mom, from time to time, she would come into the room and she would see me. So I had a habit of I would have night terrors, like quite a few kids typically would. But these weren't like your average night terrors. I don't really remember my dreams anymore. And whenever I do, it's usually something significant. This time around, I don't really remember my dreams, but my mom explicitly said tons of times that she would come in to the room, and I would be sitting in the middle of the room with either one of my toys, or I would be talking to somebody, but I was asleep. I had no idea what was really happening. And my mom was freaked out about this. I remember my mom told me that she came in one night and I was sitting on top of my bedpost. I was on my bedpost. So like when you're like, if you have like a twin size mattress with like a headboard or whatever, I was sitting on my headboard and I was talking to somebody. And my mom, I kind of vaguely remember like my mom turned on the lights in my room. And I was kind of like, what the heck? Like I was disoriented because I didn't know really what was going on. And my mom told me when I got older all the things that she experienced, why I was experiencing these things, but not really realizing that I was experiencing them. And my mom had said that she would come into the room and sometimes I would be sitting in front of my closet door with the closet open in the middle of the night, pitch black room, pitch black closet. I'd be just sitting in front of my closet door, talking to somebody or rolling a ball. And what freaked my mom out the most was that there was one night she had opened up the door and I was in there talking to somebody, and she opened it, and from the hallway, the light that was coming from the bathroom, you could see me sitting there, and I rolled a ball into the closet, and the ball did not hit the wall and it came back. This freaked out my mom to the point that at one point my mom actually locked my closet. Yeah. And I mean, rightfully so. Like, I mean, that would freak out any parent, you know, with a child that's really, you know, young. And then several years later, then I'm having my experience that happened in Colorado, right? Yeah. And then not really realizing what was going on. It was only until like I got older and I was like in my teens. And there was one night I had this dog. His name was Prince. And for those that are out there on YouTube, I'm pretty sure you guys remember the video that I posted about Prince when he passed away. Still miss that little rugrat. He was a pain in my ass. But he was my best friend. And so as I got older, I remember there was a night that I was sitting in my room, and usually sometimes my grandpa, like I said, he's got health issues. Well, he's also a Vietnam vet. And growing up, he would have experiences where he would think that he was either back in the war or not, or he would just do random stuff around the house that didn't make any sense, right? And we knew that it was basically the beginnings of Alzheimer's and dementia. And as time progressed, there was one night, and I'm a total night owl. You know this. I stay up all times of the night. And I was sitting on my bed. Prince was sitting on the bed with me, and he just randomly started barking like nobody's business. And you remember, like, you know, there's the kitchen, there's the kitchen light, the dining room light, and then there's another light that's right there in the middle. Well, that light was on, and I figured, okay, well, you know, Grandpa's probably walking around in circles in the kitchen, dining room, living room, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he, you know, I was sitting there and Prince was getting all upset and stuff, and I didn't know what was going on. And I looked at the bottom of the door, and there was two footprints, like two, not footprints, but like the shadow of like feet at the end of the door. And Prince was barking and stuff. So I was just like, okay, it's probably just Grandpa or it's probably my mom. It was weird. But I got up off the bed and I watched the shadow of the feet from underneath the door from the light literally just dissipate and away from the door. And I opened the door, and as soon as I opened the door, the light in the kitchen / dining room, the middle light there, turned off. And I was extremely freaked out. Mom said that she thought that she had heard something. So she opened her door as I'm standing there in my door frame, terrified. Prince, at this point, tiny little Chihuahua Shih Tzu, growling, losing his mind. I'm picking him up, and Mom is just like, what's going on? And I was like, I don't know. There was somebody standing in front of my door, and then I open the door, and then nobody's there, and then the light just turns off. Which, keep in mind, this is impossible, because in order to turn that light off, you have to be standing right there in front of the kitchen to turn it off, because the light switch is behind the microwave.
Yep.
Yeah. And so my mom, I'm telling my mom what's going on, right? And then my mom finally tells me, she says, well, I don't know if you know this, which I'm pretty sure you don't, because at this point, this is already probably maybe like my 5th time experiencing something weird. Like at some point, like in the middle of the night, like I would hear my closet door creak open or whatever. And I would hear it, but it wasn't either open or it was closed, you know? And I was having experiences here or there. So my mom tells me, she said, so did grandma tell you about what happened in the house prior to them buying it? And I was like, no. She was like, okay, before this house was bought, do you remember the mirror that's there in the dining room that's on the wall?
Yeah.
Okay. So in that area, in particularly my mom's room and in my room, my old room. So a man and his wife and his 2 children lived in that house. Yes, they lived in that house. He killed his wife, murdered both of his children in the rooms. Currently, like basically, he shot his youngest in my closet and then killed his eldest in my mom's room. And then he took his own life in the dining room, which is why that hole is in the wall and is covered up with that mirror. Yeah. And so ever since then, it's been, you know, as far as like his wife, she was murdered in my grandparents' room because that was their room. And I remember I asked, as soon as my mom told me about this, I lost so many hours in sleep. And I remember I asked grandma about it. I was like, what is the dealio with this? Like, fill me in on the situation. And grandma was like, he had some serious issues. According to the people that they bought the house from, they have to disclose this information. When you buy a house or you rent or anything, you have to disclose that somebody has either deceased or something has happened within that residence. And in most cases, they don't tell you that information. Well, back in that day, when my grandparents got it, they were actually following the rules and disclosed that information to them. My grandma still has the paper clipping of it in the newspaper. And it was a big deal because a lot of people were speculating, well, what was the issue? What was the issue? What it was is that he had a mistress. His wife found out about it, and she threatened to divorce him. He also had been in the war and had a lot of issues. He also had a gambling problem. He had a drinking problem. And basically, it just led from one thing to another. Bada bing, bada boom. No puns intended, but that's basically how it went down. So ever since then, if you're like in the house randomly, especially at nighttime, you will hear like footsteps randomly, or you'll think that somebody's like either in the room. I don't know how many times, I can't count on all fingers and toes how many times I've sat in my room and felt like somebody's staring me right in the face. I heard your finger touch the microphone. But yeah, no, it's blatantly obvious. So I assume I have told you about this.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
I'm just like, it's creepy outside. Especially when you're by yourself. You're just like,
yeah. No, it is. It's extremely creepy. Because out there, so where my grandparents' house is, it's down. Like there's 2 large hills on both sides, and then the house is in the middle. So if it snows really bad, like ice, sleet, whatever, you're not getting out. You're not getting out. When that ice storm hit back in, I think it was 2008, 2009, we were stuck in that.
You told me.
Yeah, we were stuck there for 2 weeks with no electricity. No electricity. It was me, my mom, my grandparents, we hunkered around like, you know, the fireplace. That's another reason why I said, like, any house we get, I want a fireplace. Because
just have one put in.
Oh, I know. But that's
my dad did it.
That's true. But your dad did what is it? It's a
little stove.
Yeah, it's a little stove fireplace, and then it has like a pipe that's going out.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is something that he did.
Yeah. Well, anywho, let me check my phone and see if. Okay. So, anyways, now they know. Even knowing now you know. I forgot that I even told you.
Yeah. I'm just like ghosts everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of like that one night we were sitting here, and just so you guys know, the house that we're living in, my great grandmother, she passed away in this house, and in the room.
This is exactly why we have stage.
So my grandmother passed away in this house, in what is now currently my son's room.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we've dealt with her. I do know that there's been a few times, like, because with like Patty and Brenda, because they were heavy set girls. You would hear creaking in the hallway, which sounds like them walking up and down the hallway. Or like the other night, I come running outside because I'm uber freaked out because Archer was asleep, and randomly he just wakes up laughing, and then suddenly I hear my Aunt Patty's laugh for the first time in 2 years since she passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And she lived in this house with her mom and her sister, which is Brenda. And Brenda's room is our room, and Patty's room is Ashton's room.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had our experiences and everything in this house already.
Maybe it's because I have my black crystal.
Listen, I do not give a flying about that ball. Okay, here's my thing.
There's also the mirror. It's in the house.
I don't give a flying about the mirror either, because it is morbidly a bad idea, in my personal opinion, to have those articles that you have. There's a reason why I tell you to leave them in your drawer covered, because black mirrors are like a no-go. They're, in my book, they're a no-go. Because if you're holding it up and you look behind you, there could be something standing there. And if it recognizes that you can see it, instant attachment. That is the last thing that anybody wants. I do not want an instant attachment, because they can be hindersome to get rid of. Especially if it's a spirit that's lost. Like, I
have lost my way. Someone help.
Listen, some people,
I need an adult. Wait,
I need an adult. Oh my gosh.
I need an adult. You're an adult.
Listen, okay, think about it, right? Like, if you pass away in a very tragic way and you have no idea that you're actually like deceased, like it's limbo. Like,
I
you're
think
just,
if you have passed away and nobody is actually paying attention to you, like, you feel like you're actually, it's not even metaphorically at that point. You literally are invisible.
well, yeah, invisible to those that don't either believe or see you.
And this is why we block off certain things.
I don't know. It's kind of the same thing where people are like, oh, well, I think children, especially dogs and children, especially babies, either babies, toddlers, or whatever. It's kind of like Malachi the other day. He was in the car with my mom, and he told mom at McDonald's, he said that Chris was sitting next to her in the passenger seat and everything. And that might just be Malachi being comforting to his grandmother. But I mean, you can look at it in a way that you know, right? But also too, for viewers that are out there that don't know this, my mom's partner passed away. What was it? A week before Thanksgiving of last year. So that's a thing. That's another reason why mom hasn't come back to do any more Tasty Thursdays. Is because she's dealing with all that. So. And obviously it affected me as well.
Yeah, because like I said, okay. I mean, after my second experience, and then like all of a sudden out of nowhere, like you come into my apartment,
Yeah,
then
and
that
we'll
whole
be
thing
talking about
happening.
that. We'll be talking about that one here shortly. Is your apartment?
Yeah, no, because one of the stories that like I had told was the one where, so after going to my ex's house at the time we were dating, like
Oh,
me and my ex.
wait. Okay, so you're about to get into this right now because that's a whole different episode.
No, what are you? I'm not talking about that ex.
No, no, okay, wait, are we okay? Because my thought is like there is like there's
No, this was when I was like 21. Jesus Christ.
Oh, okay. So wait, we're not talking about the one, the ex or child experience. So we're not talking about that one. We're talking about a whole different one.
Yes.
Okay. So here we're at 21 minutes and 14 seconds. So we're gonna go ahead and end this pre-recorded episode, and then we're going to jump back into your story because I want to keep things separate.
No, their name was Jacob.
Okay. Oh, that one.
Yes.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Let's see. Mason King. I am big on let's getting mirrors face each other. So I know what you're talking about. I hope you're still on here for my response on this because that was 1 minute ago. You said I'm big on letting mirrors face each other. So it has been said that mirrors are a portal.
Yeah, and that's what I told you. Like my mom, when I told her about what was going on in my apartment, okay, and she also like saw like what my apartment had looked like because, like I said, my apartment, it had my altar, I had like crystals, I had like my talismans at my door and everything. I had sage, the whole entire shebang. Okay, I have a witch's ball at the front door. I have bells on my door.
Yep.
Okay. It's you even like it, when it came to like coming into my apartment, you can definitely feel the difference from being out and then coming in.
Yep.
Like you come from outside, you come into my apartment, and it felt very relaxing, very comforting.
This is true. This is very true.
Yeah. Okay. So my mom told me, remember I told you I was just like, my mom let me know.
But my thought is, because
like have Wiccans, old time Wiccans.
I know that, but like
in my family.
I'm sitting here and I'm looking at like, I'm looking at her thing, letting mirrors face each other. So like, do you remember when we first moved in here? Because my aunts and my great grandmother, they had mirrors everywhere.
Yeah, and I told you, like, as soon as I saw them hanging and everything, I'm just like, take them down.
Take them all down. Take it down now.
Just take them all down. Go put them somewhere else. I am not doing this. I am not doing this.
My thought was, and you know, the thing is, though, is some of those mirrors, like, there's a couple still in our closet and they're like covered. But like I said, my great grandmother passed away in this house. Like,
what has happened? Those mirrors have broken. They have broken.
Yeah, and not by us, because that's 7 years bad luck. That's provided you even believe in that. So,
yeah, no. Remember, I told you like when I told my mom about what was going on in my apartment and everything, and she saw how like what I'm into and everything.
Mm-hmm.
She told me about like how in our family along the line we have old time Wiccan in our family.
Yeah,
which is why she knew a lot of this stuff too, because she was just like, you better not have like mirrors up. And I was just like, no, because I know that mirrors work as like a portal. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Like that even explains why like I had my door closed.
Well, I mean, there's, you know,
the only mirror inside my whole entire house.
So there's this
apartment.
There's this episode on Destination Fear. You know, not to plug like anybody else's like, you know, gig or whatever, but like Destination Fear, Dakota and his team compared to like Zach Bagans and Ghost Adventures. Like, don't get me wrong, like I like both of them, but like Zach Bagans is starting to like basically rub me raw because of some of the things that he's been doing in the media recently and how he approaches stuff. But with Dakota and his sister and his friends, they give off that vibe that they're very genuine about what they're doing, but they also have fun that they're doing, right?
Yeah.
There was this episode, and you can find this on Discovery Plus. Not sponsored, but you can find this episode on there, and they did this. It's a room that has a mirror on the ceiling and literally wall to wall, top to bottom, mirrors all across with mirror on the floor. And they literally they did, I can't remember the name of the test, but basically you're blindfolded, you have headphones on, and a very, very, very strong, dense microphone. And basically, like, it picks up frequencies that we can't hear. And so they're sitting, literally sitting in the middle of a room on a freaking chair, like a stool. And they're just surrounded 360 degrees, top and bottom, with mirrors. And in the camera, you can visibly see behind him an orb just go from one mirror to the other and back and then up and down. Like this, whatever was in there literally was trapped and was like, let me out. Ding, 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 ding. Like, I was like, I feel so bad for whoever that is. And the person that's doing the test, that's blindfolded with the headset on, is literally repeating back what they're hearing. And I thought that was probably the most interesting thing that I've seen by far as like ghost, testing or experiments or whatever. But for me, I don't know how I'd feel about it in that situation. I think I would probably be morbidly terrified because you're subjecting yourself to different energies. You're subjecting yourself to a situation that my head's in the way. Your
head's in the way.
Yeah. So you're subjecting yourself physically and spiritually to whatever else is there. And like I said, that's the reason why I said, you're talking about facing mirrors with each other. I'm sitting here saying black mirrors, no, is a no. Like, there's a difference, I guess. I don't know. For me, it feels like there's a difference because there's...
See, but that's the whole entire thing, because literally what each of these things are like made of is it's considered a protective crystal. That's the thing about it. These are made out of what would be considered if you had it.
Yeah.
It's considered for protection.
Yeah.
And I know I'm going to probably say it wrong. Obsidian or something like that. Okay, that's literally what my black crystal ball is made out of.
Yeah.
And my mirror.
I understand that, but like my thoughts are like, I guess what I should do is probably explain to you all exactly the reason why I'm opposed to like black crystal balls or black mirrors. So I had a friend that had a ridiculously large black mirror, and I had a very, very terrifying experience where I just thought like, oh, this looks cool. And I remember just looking into it, and my first thought was like, what is that? And what was there was literally behind me, and like from this side, all I could see was the corner of the mouth and the eye. And I was like, what? And I remember not really feeling or thinking anything, but like confusion, because I can see some details of my own face, but then to see details of something else that's literally not there was so horrifying that like I turned whiter than I'd ever been. I thought my tattoos were going to fall off. I was so scared. I literally was just like, nope, I'm done. I'm out. Bye-bye. And ever since then, I literally just said not doing it. But then, because of that experience, I had an ongoing attachment. And that's because whatever that spirit or entity was, it saw a connection because I had connected with it via making eye contact. And because I was fearful and had not protected myself, it immediately was like, latch. And I
Yes,
literally,
and
for
then
weeks afterwards, I was like,
you
am I
know, and then even
like,
at one point, like when we were dating, what did I give you? It was like a little keychain. It was like a protection
yes,
like,
yes.
keychain
Mm-hmm.
that you have.
And I loved that keychain until there was a day at work. I had it on my keys on my belt, and it got the little protection jar and the gems that was on it. It was so adorable. I wish I still had it, but I don't. And it got caught in the bench because the benches over there, like work or whatever, it had like the holes or whatever. I was done eating at lunch and I stood up, and whenever I stood up, it got caught inside the holes and it like snapped it all in pieces, and then the little jar fell off and cracked open. And I was like, man, like I was so hurt about that. Same thing with the necklace that you bought me.
Yep.
Remember the necklace? Like it snapped in half. And I honestly think that it was just bad luck. Like I think what it was is I had so much negative karma at that time that every gem that you had given me was like, we're exhausted from protecting you. Like we're done. We're breaking. We're over it. Okay. Anyways, so I'm going to go ahead and end this episode. We're sitting at 31 minutes and 33 seconds. Anyways, you can find the podcast for this and the video podcast over on YouTube. You can find the audio podcast over on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, as well as Amazon Music, as well as on the official website for HLA Productions. Anyways, I love you guys, and I hope that you guys enjoyed today's episode. And I will talk to you guys in the next one. Ta-ta.
Bye-bye.